चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः स्थावरं जङ्गमं व्यक्तं यत्किञ्चित् सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः भवजीव्यापि यत्सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः सर्वश्रुतिशिरोरत्न विरचिता पदाम्बुजः वेदान्तं पूज्य सूर्यो यः तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः चैतन्य शाश्वत शान्तो व्योमतीतो निरञ्जनः बिन्दुनादकलातीता तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः ज्ञानशक्ति समारुद्धा तत्त्वमाला विभूषितः भुक्तिमुक्तिप्रदाता च तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः अनेकजन्म सम्प्राप्ता कर्मबन्धविदायिने आत्मज्ञानप्रदानेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः शोषणं भावसिन्धोश्च ज्ञापनं सारसम्पदः गुरुपादोदकं सम्यक् तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः न गुरोराधिकं तत्त्वं न गुरोराधिकं तपः तत्त्वज्ञानात् परं नास्ति तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः मनता श्रीजगन्नाथ मद्गुरु श्रीजगद्गुरु ममात्मा सर्वभूतात्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः गुरुरादिरनादिश्च गुरुपरमदेवतं गुरुपरतरं नास्ति तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव
साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः
जय श्री
शिशाय नमः ॐ विषमाय नमः ॐ देवकरसमुन्नताय नमः ॐ सूक्ष्मतनवे नमः ॐ चिन्मयाय नमः ॐ गुरुमूर्तये नमः ॐ सुन्दराय नमः ॐ सुलोचनाय नमः ॐ सुमुखाय नमः ॐ चारुहासाय नमः ॐ केशवाय नमः ॐ पद्मभुजाय नमः ॐ मन्दगमनाय नमः ॐ चारुभरतरिणे नमः ॐ रमाय नमः ॐ मन्दिरस्तबकाय नमः ॐ श्रीदिववचकाय नमः ॐ गायत्र्यज्मने नमः ॐ अर्पणस्वीकारकाय नमः ॐ विष्णुपूजकाय नमः ॐ नमो नारायणेति मन्त्रोपासकाय नमः ॐ स्वरमयाय नमः ॐ मधुरगन्धाय नमः ॐ कृष्णसंकीर्तनलोलुपाय नमः ॐ स्तोत्रप्रियाय नमः Om Mitabashine Namaha, Om Vagmine Namaha, Om Chitrakala Visharadaya Namaha, Om Ratadaraya Namaha, Om Sadave Namaha, Om Jagatpataya Namaha, Om Sarvalokahitaya Namaha, Om Bhaktapriyaya Namaha, Om Suryaya Namaha, Om Anukulaya Namaha, Om Deyaya Namaha, Om Sudarshanaya Namaha, Om Bhaktavatsalaya Namaha, Om Premamutaye Namaha, Om Shubhekshanaya Namaha, Om Pritivardhanaya Namaha, Om Swastidayakaya Namaha, Om Tarakaya Namaha, Om Anugrahaya Namaha, Om Vardhanaya Namaha, Om Achitaya Namaha, Om Arthaya Namaha, Om Siddhipradaya Namaha, Om Janardanaya Namaha, Om Manoharaya Namaha, Om Mahakshaya Namaha, Om Siddheshwaraya Namaha, Om Bhasmabhushitaya Namaha, Om Atmalingaya Namaha, Om Lingachana Prasakaya Namaha, Om Siddhi Sadanaya Namaha, Om Madhavaya Namaha, Om Karupasakaya Namaha, Om Shukshmaya Namaha, Om Vishokaya Namaha, Om Satvikaya Namaha, Om Samadashine Namaha, Om Dakshaya Namaha, Om Achityaya Namaha, Om Niramkaraya Namaha, Om Nirmohaya Namaha, Om Avyagraya Namaha, Om Chitakrudaya Namaha, Om Vinashilaya Namaha, Om Svavashaya Namaha, Om Kushalaya Namaha, Om Shamaya Namaha, Om Satyadharmaya Namaha, Om Nirvikalpaya Namaha, Om Viraktaya Namaha, Om Atindraya Namaha, Om Satyasandaya Namaha, Om Pavitraya Namaha, Om Mathurasvabhavaya Namaha, Om Suranandaya Namaha, Om Nandanaya Namaha, Om Prasanatmane Namaha, Om Bhaktanidaye Namaha, Om Sakshaye Namaha, Om Samatmaye Namaha, Om Sadayogine Namaha, Om Haraye Namaha, Om Sutapaya Namaha, Om Saumyaya Namaha, Om Bhuyaya Namaha, Om Vimuktatmaya Namaha, Om Kabiraya Namaha, Om Guptaya Namaha, Om Atmaramaya Namaha, Om Srinivasaya Namaha, Om Devaya Namaha, Om Jyotidaraya Namaha, Om Ganyaya Namaha, Om Gurave Namaha, Om Duratikramaya Namaha, Om Gahanaya Namaha, Om Bhagavate Namaha, Om Harisharana Margadarshakaya Namaha, Om Budasya Jagatpakaya Namaha, Om Abhiprayaya Namaha, Om Sarvamata Samatyaya Namaha, Om Kshamakata Bhavavadakaya Namaha, Om Premavatara Shri Vishwananda Swamine Namaha. Ato Deva Arato no Yato Vishnu Vichakrame Pratirya Sattva Dhamami Idam Vishnu Vichakrame Tredani Dade Padam Samudamasya Pagum Sure Trini Pada Vichakrame Vishnur Gopa Ata Abhyaha Ato Dharmani Dharene Vishnu Karmani Pashyata Yato Vratani Vasvase Indrasya Yuja Sakaha Tat Vishnoho Paramam Padagum Sada Pashanti Suryaha Divi Vachakshuratatam Tat Vipraso Vimanyamo Jagrivagum Sasamindate Vishnoyat Paramam Padam. Gurudevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishwananda Prachodayate Om Premavatara Vidmahe Sadgurudevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishwananda Prachodayate Om Premavatara Vidmahe Sadgurudevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishwananda Prachodayate. Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarva Karyeshu Sarvada Sarva Karyeshu Sarvada. Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Om Bhurvasvaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Vishnu Madhusudana Ketapale Narayana Achyuta Vikrama Chakrapale Daityadi Sarjadara Sridhara Vasudeva Gopala Krishna Haraye Tava Suprabhatam Shri Rukmini Savavanaša Hare Murare Radesha Gopasha Surupa Brahmani Vanya Svikara Karshana Kunta Pateru Maneka Murte Gopala Deva Haraye Tava Suprabhata Vinagudeta Matarupa Varaha Murte Trevi Kramaya Muhane Ramayama Shri Rama Krishna Yadunandana Kalpirupa Gopala Krishna Haraye Tava Suprabhata Govinda Madhava Mukunda Parat Paresha Damodara Chadarananda Kadarishori Gopa Gopi Jana Samvrta Dina Bando Gopi Jana Priyare Tava Suprabhatam Shri Ratri Shai Pujagadi Patal Pashai Sadbhakta Ritsarana Shai Ramanga Shai Shri Gopa Mama Mridutalpa Sukadishai Gopa Vallabhare Tava Suprabhatam Shri Kashapatri Sukanyarada Gautamadi Brahma Shri Sangamani Sangava Bharatesho Tishtanti Devata Vadashana Vadya Heto Gopala Sekaranaye Tava Suprabhatam Mandara Jali Tulasidala Malyakalyahe Malyani Anjali Kute Samudaharanti Tishtanti Tattva Vatadara Tale Munindra Radha Manoharare Tava Suprabhatam Vedatrayam Patati Gautama Kana Goya Gayanti Sadgurano Bharata Savarga Santirdayanti Tava Nama Kala Vishesha Shri Narada Rishaya Tava Suprabhatam Govardhano Dharana Gopa Kishora Gopa Gopi Janamrita Suresha Bhavati Bodha Trilokya Mohana Sumangala Divya Deha Shri Rukmini Shavarada Tava Suprabhatam Shri Vatsachina Sharanagata Parijata Bhaktarti Vanchana Kripakara Dina Bando Jaityanta Gayatri Janapriya Divya Rupa Shri Nanda Gopatanaya Tava Suprabhatam Padmaksha Padma Mukha Padma Dara Prameya Padmalaya Sarvita Padma Nivasa Shori Padmo Bhavati Sura Sevita Pada Padma Padmadinata Haraye Tava Suprabhatam Sharira Rama Vihara Gopala Devarane Tava Supravatam Shri Vaishe Jambavati Satya Suganti Bhadra Shri Mitra Vida Divasa Prabhuputri Kalyare Tishtanti Divya Pavameta Vasevanardam Gopi Manapriyare Tava Supravatam Shri Krishna Achyuta Ananta Mukunda Shori Radha Manohara Janardana Chakrapane Ramani Divya Munayurna Nishambadati Rami Murta Samaye Tava Supravatam Shri Krishna Supravatam Ye Patanti Aharnisham Puri Kritama Papan Shri Krishna Grahetuka Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karana Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Chintamani Prakara Satma Sukarma Vriksha Laksharveteshu Suramira Vipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrava Sevyamana Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Venum Vanantam Aravinda Dalaya Daksham Vanavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Alola Chandra Kala Sattva Namalya Vamshi Pranangadam Pranaya Keli Kala Vilasam Shamam Trivangala Litam Niyata Prakasham Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Agani Yasya Sakalendriya Vritimati Vashanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Satujvala Vigrahasya Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadi Mananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Pantastu Koti Shatabatsara Sampragamyo Vayoratapi Manaso Muni Muktamana Sopyasti Yatrapada Shimnya Vichitya Tatve Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chaitum Jagananda Koti Yachakti Rasti Jagananda Chayaya Nanda Ananda Rasta Paramanu Chayanta Rasta Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Govinda Madi Purusham Tamam Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Diyo Mana Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunasvarupa Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Shukalani Yamena Tishtar Nanavadara Makarottu Ganesha Tintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramapumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagananda Koti Kodishva Shesha Vasudadi Vibhuti Vina Tad Brahmanishkaram Anantam Ashesha Bhuta Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Mayani Yasya Jagananda Shastani Sudre Trigunyatad Vishaya Veda Vitaya Mana Sattva Valambi Parasattva Vishuddha Sattva Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasatmataya Manashu Yatrani Napratipalam Smaratamupetya Lilayatena Bhuvanani Jagatayasran Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Golokanamini Chadamni Kalecha Tasya Devi Mahesha Haridama Suteshu Teshu Tete Prabhava Nichayamini Dashayena Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Shristi Siddhi Pranaya Sadhana Shakti Rega Jayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibhati Durga Ichanurupamami Yasya Chasheshta Chesa Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Shriram Yatana Divikara Vishesha Yoga Sanjayatena Itata Pratinasti Heto Yashama Sama Tatatasa Umaiti Karyan Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Dipachireva Lita Shantaramamya Petya Dipayate Vivita Hetu Samana Dharma Yastadriveva Hija Vishnu Saya Vivati Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yakaranana Madaleva Satisma Yoga Nidramadanta Jagananda Saroma Rupaha Adara Shakti Mavalamya Param Samurti Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yase Kanisa Vitakana Hatavalamya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagananda Nanda Vishnur Mahansaya Yasya Kala Vishesho Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Vasvanya Tashma Shakaleshu Nicheshu Tesha Siyam Kiyam Prakatayatya Vidakaratra Ramaya Yasya Jagananda Vidana Karga Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Palava Yugam Yinidaya Tumba Dante Pranama Samaye Sakaradayata Tiknam Vihantu Malanasya Jagatrayasya Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Agir Mahika Garamam Pumaruti Shasha Kalasta Tanna Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmat Bhavati Vibhavati Vishanti Yamcha Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Yachakshuresha Savita Sakala Grahana Raja Samasta Sudamurti Rashesha Teja Yaskakana Brahmati Samprata Kala Chakro, Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami, Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami, Dharmona Papa Nichayashrita Kamsi, Brahmani Kita Padakama Dayasha Jivaha, Yadata Mantra Vivaha Prakata Prabhava, Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami, Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami, Yasmindra Gopa Matavendra Mahosa Dharma, Bandhanu Rupa Parabhajana Matanoti, Galmani Hidati Kintu Chavati Haja, Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami, Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami, Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayani Niti, Vatsaya Moha Guru Gaurava Sevya Bhavare, Sanchitya Tassa Sadushipta Murapurete, Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami, Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachitananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karana, Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami, Govindamadi Purusham Tamam Bhajami.
Good evening, everyone. So, on Saturdays, every Saturday, we have a section of special chanting. Just before we start, I'd like to explain to you what it is. So, you find in your book that's on page 46 those chants going forward, and it's 3 pieces. So, it will take around 35 or 40 minutes. It's Guruji's wish that if you want to chant along, that we stand up, or if you don't want to chant along, you don't know the text, and it's also okay, you just remain seated and you can meditate. So the first one on page 46 is called the Purusha Suktam. Purusha is the supreme person, so God in Vaishnavism. And this is from the ancient Vedas. It's a very famous chant praising the creation, the Lord, how he has from himself created. After that, we chant the Vishnu Sahasranama. It's a rather long piece about the infinite qualities of the Lord, and the whole thing itself is a praise. It's an offering to Vishnu. It's called the 1,000 Names of Vishnu, Vishnu Sahasranama. And finally, at the end, it's Narayana Suktam. It's also a chant very famous from the Vedas, which is praising Narayana, especially in the heart of human beings. So him living there as a very intense light, small intense light, which becomes bigger and bigger the more you turn your attention towards him. Okay, so having said that, enjoy and let's start the chanting.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Tatsayoravranemahe Gatum Yajnaya Gatum Yajnapataye Devi Swastirastu Naha Swastirmanusebhyaha Urdvam Jigata Beshajam Shanno Astvadvibhade Sham Chatushvade Om Shanti 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 Sahasra Shirsha Purushaha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat Sabhumim Vishvato Vritva Adyatishtatta Shangulam Purusha Evedagum Sarvam Yad Bhutayakcha Bhavyam उतामृतत्वस्येषानः यदन्नेन तिरोहति एतावानस्य महिमा अथोज्जायगश्च पुरुषः पादोऽस्य विश्वभूतानि त्रिपादस्यामृतं दिवि त्रिपादूर्ध्व उदे पुरुषः पादोऽस्येह भवात् पुनः ततो विश्वं व्यक्रामत शासनानशने अभि तस्मात् विरारजायत विराजो अधिपुरुषः स जातो अत्यरिच्यत पश्चात् भूमिमतो पुरः यत्पुरुषेण हविषा देवा यज्ञमतन्वता वसन्तो अस्यासीनाज्यम् ग्रीष्म इद्म शरद्रविः सप्तास्यासन् परिरयः त्रिसप्तसमिरकृता देवा यज्ञं तन्वाना अबध्नं पुरुषं पशुं तयज्ञं बर्हिषि प्रोक्षन् पुरुषं जातमक्रतः तेन देवा अयजन्त सात्यार्षयश्च ये तस्मात् यज्ञत् सर्वहुतः संवृतं पृषधाज्यं पशुकिस्ताकिश्चक्रे वायव्यान् आरण्याग्राम्यश्च ये तस्मात् यज्ञत् सर्वहुतः ऋचः सामानि जग्निरे छन्दगुंसि जग्निरे तस्मात् यजुस्तस्मारजायत तस्मादश्वा अजायन्त एकेचो भयादतः गावो ह जग्निरे तस्मात् तस्माजात अजावयः यत्पुरुषं ह्यदरुः कटिडा व्यकल्पयन् मुखं किमस्य कौ बाहु काबूरुपादाभुज्येते ब्राह्मणोऽस्य मुखमासीत् बाहुराजन्यकृतः ऊरुतस्य यद्वैश्यः तद्यागुं शूद्रो अजायत चन्द्रमा मनसो जातः चक्षुः सूर्यो अजायत मुखादिन्द्रश्चाग्निश्च प्राणात् वायुरजायत नाभ्या आसीदन्तरिक्षम् शीर्ष्णोऽद्यौ समवर्तत पद्भ्यां भूमिर्विशश्रोत्रात् तथा लोकागमकल्पयन् वेदाहमेतं पुरुषं महान्तम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसस्तु पारे सर्वाणि रूपाणि विचित्य धीरः नामानि कृत्वा विवदन्यदास्ते धाता पुरस्ताच्यमुदा जहार शक्रः प्रविद्वान् प्रदिशश्च तस्रः तमेवं विद्वानमृतय भवति नान्यः पन्था अयनाय विद्यते यज्ञेन यज्ञमयजन्त देवा तानि धर्माणि प्रथमान्यासन् देहनाकं महिमानः सजन्ते यत्र पूर्वे सात्या सन्ति देवा अघ्यः सम्भूतः पृथिव्यैरसाश्च विश्वकर्मणः समवर्ततादि तस्य त्वष्टा विररद्रूपमेति तत्पुरुषस्य विश्वमाजानमग्रे वेदाहमेतं पुरुषं महान्तम् आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात् तमेवं विद्वानमृतय भवति नान्यः पन्था विद्यते यनाय प्रजापतिश्चरति गर्भे अन्तः अजायमानो बहुधा विजायते तस्य धीरा परिजानन्ति योनिम् मारीचीना परमिच्छन्ति वेदसः यो देवेभ्यः तपति यो देवानां पुरोहितः पूर्वो यो देवेभ्यो जातः नमो ऋचाय ब्राह्मये ऋचं ब्राह्मं जनयन्तः देवा अग्रे तदब्रुवन् यस्त्वैवं ब्राह्मणो विद्यात् तस्य देवा असंवशे रीश्चते लक्ष्मीश्च पत्न्यो अहोरात्रे पार्श्वे नक्षत्राणि रूपम् अश्विनव्यात्तम् इष्टं मनिषान अमुं मनिषान सर्वं मनिषान तच्चयोरावृणीमहे गातं यज्ञाय गातं यज्ञपतये दैवी स्वस्तिरस्तु नः स्वस्तिर्मानुषेभ्यः ऊर्ध्वं दिगातु भेषजम् शन्नो अस्तु द्विपदे चतुष्पदे ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये यस्य द्विरदवक्त्राद्य पारिशाख्यपराशतम् विज्ञं निज्ञन्ति सततं विश्वक्सेनं तमश्रये व्यासं वसिष्ठनप्तारं शक्तिपौत्रमकल्मषं पराशरात्मजं वन्दे शुकतातं तपोनिधिं व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वे ब्रह्मनिलये वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः अविकाराय शुद्धाय नित्याय परमात्मने सदैकरूपरूपाय विष्णवे सर्वजिष्णवे यस्य स्मरणमात्रेण जन्म संसारबन्धनात् विमुच्यते नमस्तस्मै विष्णवे प्रभविष्णवे ॐ नमो विष्णवे प्रभविष्णवे श्रीवैशम्पायनोवाच शुद्ध्वादन्मानशेषेण पावनानि च सर्वशः युधिष्ठिरः शन्तनवं पुनरेव्यभ्यभाषित श्रीयुधिष्ठिरोवाच किमेकं दैवतं लोके किं वप्येकं परायणं स्तुवन्तः कङ्कमर्चन्तः प्राप्नुयात्मानवाशुभम् गोधर्मः सर्वधर्मानं भवतः परमो मतः किं जपं मुच्यते जन्तुर्जन्म संसारबन्धनात् श्रीभीष्मोवाच जगत्प्रभुं देवदेवं अनन्तं पुरुषोत्तमं स्तुवन्नाम सहस्रेण पुरुषः सततोक्तितः तमेव चर्चयन् नित्यं भक्त्या पुरुषमव्ययम् ध्यायन् स्तुवन्नमस्यंश्च यजमानस्तमेव च अनादिनिधनं विष्णुं सर्वलोकमहेश्वरं लोकाध्यक्षं स्तुवन्नित्यं सर्वदुःखत्रिगो भवेत् ब्रह्मण्यं सर्वधर्मज्ञं लोकानं कीर्तिवर्धनं लोकनाथं महद्भूतं सर्वभूतभवोद्भवम् एष मे सर्वधर्मानं धर्मोऽधिकतमो मतः यद्भक्त्या पुण्डरीकक्षं स्तवेरर्चिन्नरः सदा परमं यो महत्तेज परमं यो महत्तपः परमं यो महद्ब्रह्म परमं यः परायणं पवित्रानं पवित्रं यो मङ्गलानं च मङ्गलम् दैवतं देवतानं च भूतानं यो व्ययः पिता यतः सर्वाणि भूतानि भवन्त्यादियुगागमे यस्मिंश्च प्रलयं यान्ति पुनरेव युगक्षये तस्य लोकप्रधानस्य जगन्नाथस्य भूपते Vishnurnama sahasram me shuna papa bhayapaham. Yani namani gaunani vikyatani mahatmanaha. Rishibi parigitani tani vakshyami bhuttaye. Rishirnamnam sahasrasya veda vyaso mahamunihi. Chandanashtaktadadeva bhagavaneva kisataha. Amritam shodbhavo bijam shaktir devaki nandanaha. Trisamaridayan tasya sanjati viniyachyate. Vishnam Jishnam Mahavishnam Prabhavishnam Maheshwaram. Anekarupadetyantam namami purushottamam. Asyam Shri Vishnu Divya Sahasranama Stotra Mahamantrasya. Shri Veda Vyaso Bhagavan Rishihi Anushtak Chandaha. Shri Mahavishnu Paramatma Shri Narayano Devata. Amrita Kshupavo Bhanuridi Bijam. Devaki Nandana Srashtiti Shaktihi. Udbhavak Shobhano Deva iti Paramo Mantraha. Shankabrinandaki Chakriti Lakam. Shangadan Vagadadara Ityastram. Radhangabani Rakshobhya iti Netram. Trisama Samaga Samiti Kavacham. Anandam Parak Brahmiti Yonihi. Hridasatashana Kala iti Tikbandaha. Shri Vishwarupa iti Dhyanam. Shri Narayana Kenkara Rupam Prityate Jape Vinyogaha Dhyanam. Shirodan Vakprateshe Shuchimanarvasatsekate Muktikanam. Mala Kluktasanastas Patika Maninibher Muktikir Manditangaha. Shubhera Prera Prer Uparivirachiter Mukta Piyusha Varshai. Anandina Puniya Dharina Linagada Shankapanyir Mukundaha. Upadav Yasya Nabhir Vyadasuranidas Chandra Suryocha Netre. Karnavasya Shirobhyo Mukamabidahano Yasya Vasteyamaptihi. Antastam Yasya Vishwam Suranarakaga Goki Gandharva Daityai. Chitrang Ram Ram Yate Tam Tribhuvana Vapusham Vishnumesham Namami. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shantakaram Bhujagashayanam Padmanabham Suresham. Vishwadharam Gagana Sadrasham Megavarnam Shubhangam. Lakshmi Kantam Kamalanayanam Yogi Virthyanagam. Vande Vishnum Bhavabhayaharam Sarvaloke Karnatam. Megashyamam Pita Kausheya Vasam. Shivatsankam Kaustavo Bhasitangam. Punyopitam Pundari Kayataksham. Vishnum Vande Sarvaloke Karnatam. Namas Samasta Bhutanang Adi Bhutaya Bhubrite. Aneka Rupa Rupaya Vishnave Prabha Vishnave. Sashanka Chakram Sakirita Kundalam Sapita Vastram Sarasire Hekshanam. Sahara Vakshastala Kaustubashyam Namami Vishnum Shirasa Jaturbhujam. Chayayam Parijatasya Hema Simhasanopari. Asinam Ambudashyamam Ayatakshamalankritam. Chandrananam Chaturbahum Shivat Sankita Bakshasam. Rukmini Satyabhamabhyam Sahitam Krishna Mashaye. Harihi Om. Visham Vishnur Satkaro Bhuta Bhavya Bhavak Prabhu. Bhuta Krip Bhuta Vridbhavo Bhutatma Bhuta Pavanaha. Bhutatma Paramatma Cha Muktanam Paramagatihi. Avyaya Purusha Sakshi Kshatrajnokshara Evacha. Yogo Yoga Vidhamneta Pradana Purusheshwaraha. Narasimha Vabushimam Keshavak Purushottamaha. Sarva Sharva Shivasthanum Bhutadir Nidiravyayah Sangbhavo Bhavanuk Bhakta Prabhavak Prabhurishvaraha Swayam Bhukshang Buraditya Pushkaraksho Mahasvanaha Anadinina Nodata Vidata Dhaturuktamaha Aprameyo Rishikeshak Padmanabha Maraprabhu Vishvakarma Manustvashtastavistastaviro Dhruvaha Agraya Shashvata Krishno Lohitakshak Pradardanaha Prabhuktastrika Guptamak Pavitram Mangalam Param Ishanak Pranadak Prano Cheshta Sheshta Prajapatihi Hiranya Garbho Bhugarbho Madhavo Madhusudanaha Ishvaro Vikramidambi Medavi Vikramakramaha Anuktamo Durakta Shakratagya Kritiratmava Suresha Sharanam Sharmam Vishwaretak Prajabhavaha Ahasam Vatsaro Vyala Pratyaya Sarvadarshanaha Ajasa Vishwarak Siddha Siddhi Sarvatirachyutaha Vrishakabira Meyatma Sarva Yoga Vinishitaha Vasurva Swamanasakya Samatma Samita Samaha Amoga Pungari Kakshuk Vrishakarma Vrishakritihi Rudro Bahushira Bhakrup Vishwayoni Chachishava Amrita Shashvathastanur Varaho Mahatapa Sarvagat Sarvavidbhanur Vishwakseno Janardanaha Vedo Veda Vidavyango Vedango Veda Vidkavihi Lokajaksha Surajakshuk Dharmajakshakritakritaha Chaturatma Chaturvyuhas Chaturdhamshas Chaturbhujaha Rajishnur Bhojanam Bhokta Sahishnur Jagadadijaha Anago Vijayojeta Vishwayoni Punarvasuhu Upendro Vamana Pramshur Amoga Shichiruchitaha Atindra Samgraha Sargo Drudapmaniyamo Yamaha Vejo Vejasada Yogi Viraha Madhavo Madhuhu Atindriyo Mahamayo Mahotsaho Mahabalaha Mahakbhaktir Mahaviryo Mahashaktir Mahachutihi Anirdeshyava Pushi Manname Atma Mahadaraka Maheshwaso Mahibadda Srinivasa Satam Gatihi Aniruddhasranando Govindo Govidampatihi Marichik Damano Hamsa Suparno Bhujagottamaha Hiranyanaba Sutapa Padmanabha Prajapatihi Amritya Sarvadriksinna Samdata Sangdimam Stiraha Ajodurmakshana Shasta Vishuratma Surariha Gurur Gurutamodamak Satya Satya Parakramaha Nimisho Nimishasrakvi Vakchaspatirudaradi Agrani Gramani Shriman Yayo Neta Samiranaha Sahasang Mukta Vishwatmam Sahasraksha Sahasapat Abaitano Nivrittatmam Samvrita Sampramardanaha Ahasang Batta Govan Niradilodharani Dharaha Saprasadak Prasannatmam Vishwadruk Vishwabhak Vibhuhu Satkata Satkata Sadur Janur Narayano Naraha Asankheyo Prameyatma Visishta Shishta Krishyajihi Siddhaktak Siddha Sankalpak Siddhita Siddhi Sadhanaha Vrishahi Vrishabhuk Vishnu Vrishaparva Vrishodaraha Vaddano Vaddamanischa Vivikta Shruti Sagaraha Subbujo Duddharo Vakmi Mahindro Vasudo Vasuhu Nekarupo Grihak Rupa Shipi Vishta Prakashanaha Ojaste Jyotitara Prakashatma Pradapanaha Rasvakshaksharo Mantras Chandram Shut Vaskara Kyutihi Amrita Shut Bhavo Bhagnasya Sabindus Sureshwaraha Aushadam Jagatak Setu Satya Dharma Parakramaha Bhuta Bhava Bhavanata Pavana Pavano Nalaha Kamaha Kamakritkanta Kamapradak Prabhu Yugadi Krit Yuga Vakto Nekamayo Mahashanaha Yadrishyo Vyakta Rupaschat Sahasra Chitananda Chita Ishtok Vishishta Shishnishta Shikandina Shovrasaha Kruktaha Krukta Kritkarta Vishwabahur Mahidaraha Achyuta Pratita Prana Prana Dova Sabanujaha Apam Nididarishthanam Apramakta Pratishtitaha Skanda Skanda Darudhuryo Varadova Yuvahanaha Vasudevo Brihatbhanur Adideva Purandaraha Yashokastara Nastara Shura Shauri Janeshwaraha Annukula Shatak Vartak Patmi Patmani Bekshanaha Patmana Bora Vindakshak Patmagalva Sharira Brata Mahakdir Ritta Vrittatma Mahaksho Garudat Vajaha Atula Sharabho Bhima Samayajno Havir Harihi Sarva Lakshana Lakshanyo Lakshmi Bansamidin Jayaha Viksharo Rohito Margo Hitor Damodara Sahaha Mahitaro Mahabago Vegavanamita Shalaha Ukbabaksho Bano Deva Shigarva Parameswaraha Karanam Karanam Karta Vikarta Gahano Guhaha Vyavasayo Vyavastana Samstana Stana Dodruvaha Parapti Paramapashta Tushta Pushta Shubhikshanaha Ramo Viramo Virajo Margo Neyo Nayo Nayaha Vira Shaktim Natam Sheshto Dharmo Dharma Vidottamaha Vaikunta Purusha Prana Prana Dak Pranama Praduhu Hiranya Garbha Shatrumno Vyaptor Vayura Dukshachaha Hrudasadashana Kalak Parameshti Parigraha Ukra Samvatsaro Dakshuk Vishramo Vishwadakshinaha Vistarastavarastanu Pramanam Bijamabdayam Arto Narto Mahakosho Mahabhogo Mahadanaha Anirvinnasta Vishto Gurdharma Yupo Mahamakaha Nakshatranemi Nakshatrikshama Samihanaha Yajna Yajjo Mahejasta Krita Satram Satangatihi Sarvadarshi Vibhuktatma Sarvajyo Jnanamuttamam Suvradak Sumukha Sukshma Sukosha Sukata Surata Manoharo Chitakroro Vira Bahur Vidaranaha Swapana Swabasho Vyapi Naikatma Naika Karma Krita Vatsaro Vatsaro Vatsi Ratna Garbo Dhaneshwaraha Dharmakyak Dharmakrit Dharmi Sadaksharam Asaksharam Avijñata Sahesram Shur Vidata Krita Lakshanaha Kapastinemi Satvasta Simho Bhuta Maheshwaraha Adi Devo Mahadevo Devo Deveva Britguruho Uttaro Gopatir Gupta Jnana Gamya Puratanaha Sharira Bhuta Britgupta Kapindro Bhuri Dakshina Sommapo Mrita Pasoma Puruchit Purusattamaha Vinayo Jaya Satya Sando Dashaha Sakvatam Patihi Jivo Vinayita Sakshi Mukundo Mita Vikramaha Ambo Nidirarantatma Maho Dadishayon Takaha Ajo Mahara Swabhavyo Chita Mitra Pramodanaha Anando Nandano Nanda Satya Dharma Pravikramaha Maharshi Kapilacharya Kritajño Medini Patihi Tripadasrita Shakyaksho Mahashanga Kritanta Krita Mahaviraha Govinda Sushena Ganagangedi Gup Yoga Biro Gahano Guptas Chakra Gadadaraha Vedaswang Gup Chita Krishno Drita Sankarshano Chitaha Varuno Varuno Vriksha Pushkaraksho Mahamana Bhagavan Bhagahanandi Vanamali Halayudaha Amdityo Yoktiraditya Sahishnur Gati Sattamaha Sudanva Kanda Parashur Dharanum Dravina Pradaha Divasfrik Sarva Trigyaso Vachaspatirayo Nijaha Trisama-sama-gasama nirvanang-nijajambishak Sanyasa-kritchamashanto nishta-shanti-parayanam Shubhanga-shanti-dasrishta-kumudakkuvaleshayaha Gohito-gopatir-gupta vrishabhaksho vrishapriyaha Aning-varti-nivrittatma sankshetakshema-kritchivaha Shivatsa-vaksha Shivasa Shipati-shimatam-varaha Shira-shisha-shinivasa Shiridi-shivibhavanaha Siddhara-shikarashaya Shiman-lokatrayashayaha Sakshasvangashadanando Nandi-jyotir-ganeshwaraha Vichitatma-videyatma Sankirtis-chinna-samshayaha Udirna sarvatak-chakshuranisha shasvatastiraha Bhushayum bhushanum bhutir vishoka-shokanashanaha Archisma-nachitakambo vishuddhatma vishodhanaha Aniruddha-pratirata-pradyumno vitamikramaha Kalani-mini-navira shuri-shura-janishvaraha Tilokatma-tilokesha Kesava-keshiha harihi Kamadeva Kamapala Kami-kanta-kridakamaha Anirdisyava-bhuvvisdur Viro-nanto-dananjayaha Brahmanya Brahma-krit-brahma Brahma-brahma-vivardana Brahma-vid-brahmano-brahmi Brahma-yag-brahmana-priyaha Mahakramo Mahakarma Mahateja Mahoragaha Mahakratuk Mahavyachva Mahayajno Mahahavihi Stavyastava Priyastotram Stuti-stotaranakriyaha Purna Purayita Punya Punya Kirtiranamayaha Manojvaraschittagaro Vasureta Vasupradaha Vasuprado Vasudevo Vasur Vasumanahavihi Satgati Satgati Satta Satbhuti Satparayanaha Shuraseno Yatushesha Sannivasa Suyamunaha Bhuta Vasu Vasudeva Sarvasu Nilayonalaha Darpaha Darpado Drupto Duddarota Parachitaha Yeshvamurtir Mahamurtir Diptamurtiramutirman Aneka Murtirabhyakta Shatamurti Shatananaha Eko Neka Savakka Kim Yattat Padamanuttamam Lokamandur Lokanato Madhavo Bhaktavatsalaha Suvarno Varno Hemango Varangaschandanangadi Viraha Visamaksunyo Kritashira Chalaschalaha Amani Manado Mangyo Loka Swami Trilokadraka Sumeda Meda Dogdanya Satya Meda Tarataraha Techo Vrashadaridhara Sarva Shastra Pradambaraha Pragraho Nigraho Vyakro Neikashanyo Katakrajaha Chaturmuktis Chaturbahus Chatuvyuhas Chaturvatihi Chaturakmak Chaturbhavas Chaturveda Videkapa Samavarto Nivrittatma Durjayuduradikramaha Dullabo Durgamo Durgo Duravaso Duradiha Shubhango Lokasaganga Satantustam Tubardanaha Indrakarma Mahakarma Kritakarma Kritakamaha Uppava Sundara Sundo Ratnanabasolochadaha Karko Vajasya Yashangi Jayanta Sarva Vijay Suvarno Bindu Rakshapya Sarva Bhagishwarishwaraha Maharado Mahagarto Mahabhuto Nahadidihi Komoda Kundara Kunda Parjanya Pavano Nilaha Amrita Somrita Vampas Sarvajya Sarvato Mukaha Sullabha Suvrata Siddha Shatrujit Chatruta Panaha Nyakroro Rumbaru Sapta Chanurandrani Shodanaha Sahasachi Sapta Jiva Sakteda Sapta Bahanaha Amurtirana Gumchintyo Bayakrit Bayanashanaha Anung Brihat Krishastolo Guna Bringer Guno Mahan Katritas Vatritas Vasyak Prakvamso Vamshavardanaha Bharavrikkati yogi yogi sarvakamadah Ashramakshamamakshama suparno vayuvahanaha Danuddaruddarurvedo dando dhammayita damaha Aparachita sarvasaho niyanta niyamo yamaha Sattvavan sattvikas satya satya dharma parayanaha Abhipraya priyarora priyakrit pritivardanaha Vihaya sakachir jyoti surachir bhuta bhukvibuhu Ravi virochana surya savita ravilochanaha Ananta huta bhukta sukato nekado graja Anirvinna sadamashi lokadishtanamapputaha Sanat sanatanatama kapila kabirabdayaha Swastira swasti kriswasti swasti bhuk swasti dakshanaha Arutra kundari chakri vikyamurchita shasanaha Shabdatika shabdasaha shishira sarvarikaraha Akrura teshalo daksho dakshinaksamimambaraha Vidvittamo vidabhaya punya shavana kirtanaha Utarano dashkritiha punyo dasvapdanashanaha Viraha rakshano santo jivana paryavastitaha Anantaruponantasya jitamanyur payapaha Chaturasho kabiratma vidisho vyadisho disaha Nadir bhurbuvo lakshmi suviro rachirangadaha Janajog janajanmadir bhimo bhima parakramaha Atara nilayodakta pushpaha sakrachakaraha Utvaga satpratachara pranada pranavappanaha Pramana prana nilaya prana brit prana jivanaha Tattvam tattva videkatma janma mrityu charachijaha Burbhuva swastaristara savita prapitamaha Yajño yajñapatir yajva yajñengo yajñavahanaha Yajñabrit yajñakrit Satyasadanaha Yajñantakrit yajñagoyam annamam ada evacha Mayoni swayam jato vekanas samagayanaha Devaki nandana srishta kshitisha papanashanaha Shankabrit nandaki chakri shankadanva kadadaraha Rarangapani rakshopya sarva praharanayudaha Shri sarva praharanayuda om nama iti Vanamali gadi shangi shanki chakri chanandaki Shri Narayano Vishnur Vasudeva Virakshatu Vanamali gadi shangi shanki chakri chanandaki Shri Narayano Vishnur Vasudeva Virakshatu Vanamali gadi shangi shanki chakri chanandaki Shri Narayano Vishnur Vasudeva Virakshatu Shri Bhishma Vacha Ititam kirtaniyasya keshavasya mahatmana Namnam sahasram divyanam asheshena prakirtitam Ya idam shanaya nityam yaschapi parikirtayet Nashabha prapnuyat kinchit samutre hachamanavaha Vedantago brahmanasya kshatriyo vijayi bhave Vaishyodana samvritasya shudrasukamavapnuya Dharmati prapnuya dharmam arthati chartamapnuya Kamanavapnuyat kami prajati chapnuyak praja Bhaktiman yasadotaya chujissat katamanasaha Sahasam vasudevasya namnametat prakirtayet Yasha prapnoti vipulam yati pradhanyamevacha Achalam shriyamapnoti shriya prapnotyanuttamam Nabhayam kvachitapnoti viryam tejascha vindati Bhavatya rogo jyotiman balarupa gunanditaha Rugato muchyate rogat vato muchyeta bandana Vayang muchyeta bitasto muchyeta panapataha Durganyatita rabhyashu purusha purushottamam स्तुवन्नाम सहस्रेण नित्यभक्तिः समन्वितः वासुदेवः क्षयमर्त्यो वासुदेवपरायणः सर्वपापविशुद्धात्मा याति ब्रह्म सनातनम् न वासुदेवभक्तानामशुभं विचते क्वचित् जन्म मृत्युजराव्याधि भयं नैवोपजायते इमं स्तवनदीयानः श्रद्धा भक्तिसमन्वितः युचेतात्मसु कक्षन्ति शुद्धिस्मृतिकीर्तिभिः न क्रोधो न च मात्सर्यं न लोभो न शुभामतिः भवन्ति कृतपुण्यानं भक्तानं पुरुषोत्तमे द्यौश्च चन्द्रकनक्षत्रकं दिशोर्भूर्महोदधिः वासुदेवस्य वीरेण विरुढानि महात्मनः ससुरसङ्गर्वं स यक्षुरगरक्षसम् जगद्वशे वर्तते तं कृष्णस्य सचराचरम् इन्द्रियाणि मनोबुद्धि सत्त्वं तेजो बलं धृतिः वासुदेवकन्याः क्षत्रक्षर एव च सर्वागमानमच्चार प्रथमं परिकल्पते आचार प्रभवो धर्मो धर्मस्य प्रभुरच्युतः ऋषयः पितरो देवा महाभूतानि दातवः जङ्गमं चेदं जगन्नारायणोद्भवम् योगो ज्ञानं तथा संख्यं द्विजशिल्पादिकर्म च वेदशस्त्राणि विज्ञानम् एतत् सर्वं जनार्दन एको विष्णुर्महद्भूतं पृथग्भूतन्यनेकशः त्रिलोक्यं व्याप्तभूतात्मा भुङ्क्ते विश्वभुगव्ययः इमं स्तवन् भगवतो विष्णुर्व्यासेन कीर्तितम् परिचेत् पुरुषा श्रियप्राप्तं सुखानि च विश्वेश्वरमजं देवं जगतः प्रभुमव्ययम् भजन्ति ते पुष्करक्षं न ते यान्ति पराभवम् न ते यन्ति पराभवम् ॐ नमः इति अर्जुनोवाच पद्मपत्रविशालक्ष पद्मनाभसुरोत्तमा भक्तानाम् अनुरक्तानां त्राता भवजनार्दन श्रीभगवानुवाच यो मम नाम सहस्रेण चोत्तुमिच्छति पाण्डव सोऽहम् एकेन श्लोकेन स्तुत एव न संशयः स्तुत एव न संशय ॐ नमः इति व्यासोवाच वासुदेवस्य वासितं भुवनत्रयम् सर्वभूतानि वासोऽसि वासुदेव नमोऽस्तु ते श्रीवासुदेव नमोऽस्तु ते ॐ नमः इति पार्वती उवाच केनोपायेन लघुना विष्णुर्नाम सहस्रकम् पठ्यते पण्डितैर्नित्यं श्रोतुमिच्छाम्यहं प्रभो ईश्वरोवाच श्रीराम राम रामेति रमे मानो मनोरमे सहस्रनाम तत्तुल्यं राम नाम वरानने श्रीराम राम रामेति रमे रामे मनोरमे सहस्रनाम तत्तुल्यं श्रीराम राम रामेति रमे रामे मनोरमे सहस्रनाम तत्तुल्यं राम नाम वरानने श्रीराम नाम वरानन ॐ नमः इति ब्रह्मोवाच नमोऽस्तनन्ताय सहस्रमुक्तये सहस्रपादशिशिरोरुबाहवे सहस्रसम्ने पुरुषाय शश्वते सहस्रकोटिगदारिणे नमः सहस्रकोटिगधारिण ॐ नमः इति सञ्जयोवाच यत्र योगीश्वर कृष्ण यत्र पार्थो धनुर्धरः तत्र श्रीविजयो भूतिर्ध्रुवा नीतिर्नितिर्मम श्रीभगवानुवाच अनन्यश्चिन्तयन्तो मां ये जनाः पर्युपासते तेषां नित्याभियुक्तानां योगक्षेमं वहाम्यहम् परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृताम् धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय सम्भवामि युगे युगे अर्थाविषण्णा शिथिलश्च भीता Bodheshu Javyadishu Vartamana Sankirtya Narayana Saptamatram Vimukta Dukkha Sukhino Bhavantu Kayena Vacha Manasendriyeva Bodhyatma Vapa Prakriti Svabhava Karumi Yat Sakalam Parasmai Narayana Yeti Samarpayami Iti Shri Vishnu Sahasranama Stotram Sampurnam Ato Deva Avantu Logvyato Vishnur Vichakrame Prithivya Saktadamabihi Idam Vishnur Vichakrame Tretanittate Padam Samogdamasya Bhagam Sure Trilipatam Vichakrame Vishnur Gopa Adabhyaha Kathurarmang Nidharayana Vishnu Karmang Nipashyata Yato Vratani Paspashe Indrasya Yujyasaka Tat Vishnu Paramang Paragam Sada Pashyam Visurayaha Vivivak Chakshuratatam Tat Vipraso Vivamyavo Jagrivagam Sasamindate Vishnu Yat Paramam Param Om Shanti 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 Sahasrashirasham Devam Vishwaksham Vishwashambhuvam Vishwam Narayanam Devam Aksharam Paramam Param Vishwatah Paramam Nityam Vishwam Narayana Gumarim Vishwameveram Purushastat Vishwabhupajivati Pating Vishwasyagmeshwaragum Shashvatagum Shivamachyutam Narayanam Mahagyeyam Vishwatmanam Parayanam Narayana Paro Jyotiratma Narayana Paraha Narayana Parang Brahma Tattvam Narayana Paraha Narayana Paro Jyatha Jnanam Narayana Paraha Yakchakit Jagat Sarvam Drishyate Shuyate Piva Amtarbahishcha Tat Sarvam Vyapya Narayana Stitaha Anantamavvyayam Kaligam Samudre Tam Vishwasambhuvam Bhakvakosha Pratikashagam Hridayam Chapyado Mukham Adonishtyavidhasyante Nabhyava Paritishati Jwalamala Kuram Bhati Vishwasyayatanam Mahata Santadagam Shilabistulam Bhatya Kosha Samnibam Tasyante Sushiragum Sukshvam Tasmin Sarvam Pratishtitam Tasya Madhye Mahanagnit Vishvachir Vishvato Mukhaha Sukrabhuk Vibhajantishtannāhāramajarakavihi Nīrgurvam madasāyi Rashmayastasya santata Santāpayati svandehamapadatalamastakaha Tasya madhye varnishika Anidyorvam vyavastitaha Nīlato yadamadhyastat vidyalleke vabhasvara Nivara Shukhavaktan Vipithāvā Svatyanupamā Tasya Shikāya Madhye Paramātmāṁ Vyavastitaha Sakrama Sashiva Saharisetra Sokshara Paramasvara Ritagam Satyam Param Brahma Purusham Krishna Pingalam Udvaretam Virupaksham Vishwarupaya Ve Namo Namaha Narayanaya Vidmahe Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tanno Vishnu Prachodayat Om Shanti 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 Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om
Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Gurudev, good morning. So, like every morning, we speak from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 2, verse 45. Shrihaviruvacham sarvabhuteshu yapashyed bhagavat bhavamatmanaha bhutani bhagavatyatmani esha bhagavatottamaha. Hari said, he is the foremost of the Lord's devotees, who sees himself established in all creatures as in the Lord himself, and sees all creatures established in his own self as in the divine soul. So when last week on Saturday I spoke about when I met Guruji and when I came to Jaslo Festival the first time, and then I ended up staying here and never leaving this place, that was still every day the best decision I took. I thought that after inviting all of you last Monday to do the positive challenge, how many of you are doing it? How is it going? It's good. You have to say good because you're positive. So today what I want to talk about is the power that sharing what you have holds. So when more than 6 years ago I was very lost, and whoever knows my story knows how lost I was, but if you don't know my story, I was very lost. And when I was that lost, 8 years ago on a Saturday night, I had a dream that I don't remember. I still don't remember the dream. And on that Sunday morning when I woke up, I also didn't remember that dream, but I had the very strong clarity that I had to see one person that I didn't know. I knew his wife. I knew the girlfriend he had. I've never seen that guy. I had no idea. I just saw his house once. That was the only thing that I knew about this person. And I wake up and I have this strong feeling I have to see this guy. I have no idea why. I don't know what he does. I don't know who he is, but I need to see him. So I call the son of his girlfriend and I ask him to have an appointment with him because he was a psychotherapist. And he said, okay. So he gives me the number. I write to him and then he gives me an appointment. So I take the appointment. I go there. And I'm very nervous because my life is at the edge of destruction. I am really destructive in my life. I am doing nothing useful. And I'm just wasting time completely. So I'm on the corridor and I knock at the door. He comes, he opens the door, and he just looks at me and he says, who knows where you go in the night with those eyes? And for me it was really beautiful because he understood immediately what my problem was. Because I was lost and I had no idea what was happening in my life, where I was supposed to go, what I was supposed to do. And he acknowledged immediately a part of me that I didn't know and I didn't understand, and it was really important to me. So I very quickly decided that he was the right person to follow. And it was a great idea. It was really a great idea. After 1 month that I followed him, he made me become vegetarian very quickly. After 3 months, I stopped taking drugs, I stopped smoking, I stopped drinking, and after a few more months, I even stopped having many of the destructive behaviors towards myself. And it slowly made me realize that drugs, women, alcohol, parties, everything that I used was a mere instrument to feel better, to cope with the hole in my chest that I had all the time. And he did a very, very good job in showing me that. He told me many, many things about myself, and the way he did it was through his own effort. So you could see that was one of these people that he worked so much with himself that in the moment he was seeing other people, he would just mirror his own experiences, and he would see the suffering that he had, and he could see it in the others. And therefore I felt incredibly understood, because it wasn't just books or things that he learned at university, but it was his own experience applied to his own life and mirrored in other people. And he told me many things. We went to India together, we went in different parts of Italy together, and I was seeing him every week, twice, and it was really, 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 really good. He was the one who gave me the autobiography of a yogi. He was the one who told me about the masters. He was the one that instructed me in all these things. And he was so pure. So when I went to him in 2016, it was like February. And you know, when you do psychotherapy, you fix the problems with your mom, with your dad, and you check the behaviors with your sister, and you find out all these different ways that you have to understand who you are and what you learned when you were young and all these kind of things. And the more I solve these things, the more the hole I had in my chest, this boredom, this emptiness that was really it was really heavy. And he took away all the mechanisms I had to avoid to feel that hole and that emptiness. And he was doing a really good job. He was really doing a good job. Because I kept feeling this hole in my chest growing and growing. And then on that day when I went to him in February, I said, when are you going to take this away? When is the part of the therapy that you take this away? And he said, I cannot take that away from you, because psychotherapy arrives until here, and then from there on there is spirituality. So I can't do it. And 2 months after, we met Guruji. And when I met Guruji, most of you know the story, I didn't particularly feel anything. I was happy to see him when I was in the queue, but it didn't particularly change my life on that point. There was nothing. But the effect that Guruji had on this psychotherapist that I had was really strong. And on that day when we met him the first time, he had something that he bought for himself, and he really wanted Guruji to bless it, but he wasn't really expressing it. And we went down after Guruji left the theater when we met him, and then he was going towards the car to leave. And Guruji was passing through the people, and then he stepped back, he went to him, and he grabbed his hand, and so he blessed what he had in his hand. And he was so happy. He was really, really happy. And I was 24 at the time, and I was very confused, because to me he was just a random guy from India that wasn't even that great master or that great saint, because I couldn't see it. They just touched his hand. That was what happened in my experience. But he was so touched. And then we came back, we drove back 2 hours, and he was so, so happy. And I mean, I was happy, he was happy, but honestly, I had so many things to think about my job, about university. that I really particularly focus on that. And then I went on with my life. And one day he decided to bring me with him for a 3 hours place very close to where Swami lives. That is a coincidence, though. And so we go there, and for 3 hours we walk around in a park, and he explains to me and he shows me what I missed. He said, "Are you curious to know what you missed? Are you curious to know what you didn't see?" And I said, "Yeah, please help me, because there's something that I clearly didn't see, because he really impacted you, but not me." And when I saw what he changed in his life and how much he changed him, I realized I think I missed something. And after a few days, he wrote me a message and he said, "We are going to Germany to the master's birthday." And he didn't even actually invite me. He just said, "We are going there." Like, he was still my therapist. He made me do the effort to actually change something. And I wrote to him and said, "Okay, I want to come with you." And then he also arranged an Atma Kriya yoga course. And then he invited many of us. And from the 4 people that we were at the beginning that met Guruji on that day for that satsang and then darshan, we ended up in like 20 people on that Atma Kriya yoga course. So he brought 3 people, and then he brought 17 more. So we all got initiated into Kriya, then we take the car, we leave, we come here, we come for Guruji's birthday, and then when we go on the river and we're on the boat, we're partying like crazy, we're having dinner, and Jaitreya comes, we are in the main hall, and there was a higher floor on that boat, and Jaitreya looks at him and us at the table, and he calls him up as to show that Guruji wanted to have an interview with us. So he goes inside without the other 3 of us. He goes inside with the wife. They're inside, and I have no idea what's going on. But when then Jaitreya calls us inside, and we open the curtain, and there is Guruji sitting on the side on the bottom of a glass of the window. Jaitreya is there checking the situation. And then on the right, I see that he's just staring at his hand and his finger, and he has a very beautiful yellow ring. And he looks very confused and lost. Because he spoke to Guruji, and Guruji made him realize, "I'm always being with you. I was the one that you met before." And what is really beautiful is that in situations like this, he didn't ask for blessings for himself. As he did years back when he met Sai Baba and when he met this other master, what he asked was for him to bless his patients. Yeah. So it wasn't about him, it was about the others always. And so Guruji, when he asked him, "Can you bless," when Krishna Bandhu asked him, "Can you bless my patients?" Guruji said, "I already did it. You asked me this question already." And he was one. He asked to Sai Baba, yeah? So that's why I was so confused. So anyway, there's a story that I never tell because it's part of what you might already know. When Guruji asked me to ask him something, I told him I'm scared. And what I told him was what I realized in all those years of life, experiencing life, and the therapy that I had with him. So I told him about the hole in my chest, and I said, "I'm scared." And he said, "Of what?" And I said, "I don't know, something here." And before he told me, "Do you want to contribute in life in a positive or negative way?" That is the official story. Guruji asked me, "Who is helping you? Who are you following?" And I pointed at the therapist, yeah? And I said, "Him." And very sweetly looked at him, and then he looked at me and he said, "Then don't worry. Don't worry, there's no problem, there's nothing to worry." And then he said, "Do you want to contribute in your life in a positive or negative way?" I said, "Positive." And he said, "Okay, don't worry. Your eyes are shining and your heart is full of love." And then all the rest of my own story goes on. And when I was for darshan the week before Just Love Festival in 2016, and I asked, Guruji told me to come to Germany. Alfio knew that therapy was finished. My therapist knew that the therapy was over. He knew that I was going to stay here. He knew that was the end of my life there. He knew that everything was going to... So he basically knew everything that was going to happen, and I had no idea, because I really had no idea. And on that Tuesday, before we left to then go on the Friday for Just Love Festival, he was actually closing therapy. He said, look, it's not really the end, because we didn't do everything. We didn't close everything, but it's the end of the therapy. You will stay there. You will see. It's just... Then I was very confused, and I was actually kind of scared to realize that I was going to be there all the time. So anyway, he was right. I actually came here. I stayed here, never went back, and he was so happy for me. He was so happy. And we went on. We had a beautiful relationship in the past 6 years, but in February, around February, he came here for darshan, and some of you might have been in that darshan. He gave a beautiful sharing. He was here in the temple, and darshan was going on, and he shared a story. And he shared his life story that is very beautiful, and it's somebody that wanted God since he was young. He didn't have my way to come up, or maybe some of the one that you have, that was struggling, had problems, and then found somebody. He just knew that he wanted God from the beginning, and that's what he strived for throughout all his life. And he did a very good job. He did a very, very good job. And then he gave that sharing, and after that sharing in the temple, there was heartbreaking. He was amazing. Then he got sick. And when he got sick, he was kind of getting better, but then he remained sick. And you know, when you follow Guruji and you are with him, what you think is that he healed so many people, that he's going to heal also the one close to you. But he didn't really get better, so we were making jokes, and then we asked Guruji, and Guruji gave his remedy to have some boiled salad to cure whatever, because if you boil salad, you can cure everything. And we were joking about it, and you know, at one point, Guruji told me to tell him to do something that I knew he wouldn't like. And so I tell him, and we are joking about it, and he's getting better. But then, a few days after, I receive a call in the night. And the omens were really bad. You know, when these things happen, omens are really bad, because it was like 1 a.m. in Mauritius, and I was playing chess with Aditya, and I lost. So I lost a chess game with Aditya, so I realized something very serious was going to happen. And immediately after I lose that game, I receive a call, and they say, Alfio died. Krishna Bandhu is dead. Guruji was with me like half an hour before, so he left and he went to his room. So I rushed down and I go to Guruji, and I knock at the door, and he says, yeah. And I said, Guruji, Alfio died. And Guruji shouts like, what? Just like this? And then he answers himself, and he says, well, that's how death happens. And so I have the people that are with him. I have the wife at the phone, and she's asking him, is he with you? Is he with you? Is he with you? And Guruji says, wait, let me check. So he sits on the bed, and he closes his eyes, and I have no idea what he does. I leave the room, I go outside, I'm talking with them, and I say, just relax. You know, you have to be strong in those moments to help and support the person. So I go back inside, and Guruji said, he has no karma anymore. There's no reason for him to stay. But the situation is really tense. Yeah, when you are in those situations, it's different than when you tell about that situation, or you hear about it, or you watch movies. That's a very serious situation. Somebody just died, and Guruji is there when the situation is happening. But he said he's been out of the body for too long, and anyway, he has no karma anymore. So we finished the call with them, and Guruji's there, smiling. And then I said, Guruji, there's no way? And he said, well, he's been out for too long, but he said he can't go back. But if you want, I can put him back in. I mean, you would feel like it's a big test. It's a big, big test. And I think I did great, because in that moment, I wasn't focused about my own attachment. I was focused about him and Guruji. And what always mattered to him as to me was his relationship with Guruji, not what I had with him. It was only about what I had with Guruji and what he had with Guruji, and that was the sharing that we had. And so I said, I don't know, Guruji, if you don't know whether he should go back in, I have no idea. I mean, why are you asking me? And he said, okay, then that's it. And he said, it's crazy, yeah? Our life comes, how easy it is to finish. But then he started and he said, it was really great. It was really great. And he said, look at how many people he helped. Look at you. You know, in this moment, you even think and you still believe he can bring him back. He has no karma, yes, but he can put some karma. Just, you know, he can add some karma. For sure, he has some spare one. I have a lot. I can give him some. He can do some of these things. And you hear stories from other people, and many times people even died, and then they met Guruji, and Guruji brought them back. I know multiple people who actually died, clinically died. Their heart was not beating anymore. They were dead. But when they were dead, they met Guruji on the other side, and Guruji told them they had to come back. So your attachment wants you to bring them back, but at the same time you realize that there's something more, and that they actually are in communion with him, and then they are with him. Because that's what he said to all the family, and to me he said, he's with me, don't worry, he's with Krishna. And his name was Krishna Bandhu, that is Krishna's friend. So Krishna's relative. He was with Krishna as his name was, and the funny thing is that he never liked his name, even though it was the definition of who he was. But the reason why I use this verse is because I read it again and I make you just know what Guruji said. The verse says, he is the foremost of the Lord's devotees. It's the Uttamadhikari, the highest of the Adhikaris, who sees himself established in all creatures as in the Lord himself, and sees all creatures established in his own self, as in the divine soul. And the day after, when Guruji was talking about him, he said, you know, he was an Uttamadhikari because he wanted the funeral to be live streamed so that he could watch it. And he had a very important appointment with some consulates, but he rushed back, he ran to my room, and he sat down and he wanted me to translate everything that the people who were talking were saying, and he asked for the live stream. And then the funny part was that at the end, you know, you had a big wide shot of the funeral, and there were hundreds of people, and I started to point at the 90% of them saying, oh, Guruji, you met this one 3 years ago. Oh, he brought that one 2 years ago. Oh, you know, this one just came, he just brought this one. Oh, and 6 years ago, he brought all of them. And you slowly realize that whoever had anything to do with him came to Guruji. They either stayed or they left. It's not that which matters, because that's between Guruji and them. But the reason why he was such a great devotee was because you couldn't shake him out of the faith in the Guru and on his path. He was really sure of what he wanted. He was really sure about Guruji. He was very stable, rooted in this path. And he shared his spiritual life with everybody. And it was dangerous because as a psychotherapist, you can't really do it. But he didn't care, and he brought as many people as he could to Guruji, and many of the people that you see around that are from my town came thanks to him. And Bolzano is my town and his town, and is the town with the most devotees in Italy. And the 85% of the people came through him, or they came through people that came through him. So in my speech last week was about my path and sharing my path. This time is about somebody who shared this path with me, and it's thanks to him if I'm here. And Guruji told me many times, you have to thank him because you're here thanks to him. I sent him to you to prepare you to come here. So we all have a big, big role in the life of other people, and we have to share what we received, because it's our duty to share our path with the others, because that's a way to bring other people to Guruji's love and to Guruji. And this is essential. And that's exactly what Guruji said at the end. He said he felt he could go, and he finished his karma because he saw that you all were in the right place. And when he saw that you all were in the right place, well, he finished his karma. Take it up.
Ramanuja Mangala Mangala Me कुछ है तेरा स्वामी सब कुछ है तेरा तेरा तुझको अर्पण तेरा तुझको अर्पण क्या लागे मेरा ओम जय जगदीश हरे ओम जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे संकट जनों के संकट दास जनों के संकट जन में दूर करे ओम जय जगदीश हरे मन जाकर राखो जी गिरधारी लाला जाकर राखो जी गिरधारी लाला जाकर राखो जी गिरधारी लाला जाकर राखो जी मन जाकर राखो जी गिरधारी लाला जाकर राखो जी गिरधारी लाला जाकर राखो जी गिरधारी लाला जाकर राखो जी जाकर राखो जाकर राखो जाकर राखो जी जाकर राखो जाकर राखो जाकर राखो जी माने जाकर राखो जी गिरधारी लाला जाकर राखो जी श्यामा माने जाकर राखो जी गिरधारी लाला जाकर राखो जी गोविंद माने जाकर राखो जी गिरधारी लाला जाकर राखो जी गिरधारी लाला जाकर राखो जी त्वमेव मम दाशमिता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव त्वमेव विना द्रविणं त्वमेव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव गोविन्द असतो सद्गमय तमसो ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरि ओम प्रेम से बोलो लक्ष्मी नारायण भगवान की जय श्री पुत्र कृष्णनाथ नरसिंह भगवान की जय श्री राधा कृष्ण कन्हैया लाल की जय श्री महाअवतार क्रिया बाबा जी की जय श्री रामानुजाचार्य की जय प्रेम से बोलो सद्गुरुदेवा श्री स्वामी विश्वनाथ महाप्रभु की जय ओम क्लीं कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय गोपीचन्द्रवल्लभाय पराय परमपुरुषाय वारकर्म मंत्र यंत्र तंत्र औषधानि शस्त्राणि समराय समराय मृत्योर्मोक्षाय मोक्षाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय दीप्तिज्वालान्विताय सर्वदिक्शोभनं परस्मरे परब्रह्मणे परमज्योतिषे स्वाहा ओम शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः